पेपर नहीं है, नहीं नीचे रखा है। Yes, good morning everyone. So today we are going to have the Hindu analysis of 11th April 2022. But before starting the lecture, as it is Monday, so every Monday we are having one motivational story. We call it as a Monday motivation story, so that throughout the week you remain motivated for your preparation. Also it is contributing to your ethics paper, also personality development as a part of your interview preparation. Okay, so today's story is related to the woodcutter. Okay, so there was a woodcutter, highly skilled woodcutter we can say, and to seek the job, the woodcutter visits the merchant market, the furniture merchant market we can say, and one merchant gives him job, also a very good pay, and along with that a very good working condition. So the woodcutter is very happy, and next day he is joining the job, and the merchant gives him eggs and asks him to start the work. Okay, so he is highly motivated, and on the first day itself he is cutting 18 trees and bringing back them to the merchant. Okay, so yes, the merchant is also very happy and congratulates him and asks him to keep the good work. Next day, but what happens is he is again motivated, highly motivated, but he is able to cut only 15 trees and he is bringing back them. The very next day, the day, let's say after that, less than 15 trees, 13 trees, 10 trees, and the woodcutter is not able to understand what is happening. He is investing more and more energy to cut the trees, but he is not able to cut more trees. And let's say, because of, let's say he gets worried and asks the merchant that why it is happening, I am not able to understand. ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है? So the merchant asks him, did you sharpen the blade of the axe? Did you sharpen the axe? So the woodcutter was, let's say, shocked here. So he did not, let's say, sharpen the axe daily, and because of that the blunt edge of axe was not able to cut the trees properly, and that's why even after investing so much of energy in cutting those trees, he was not able to cut them. The same is case with our mind. In our daily life, what happens is we are continuously investing efforts, continuously trying to do the work, but not sharpening our mind. Okay, and because of that, what happens is our productivity goes on declining. Our, let's say, output reduces. So let's say when we are preparing for this UPSC examination, you should be giving some time for yourself. You should understand whether whatever we are preparing, that is correct, or are we on the right path of your preparation. Okay, also one should understand that are we learning from the mistakes of yesterday. So this thing will sharpen our mind. Learning from mistake will sharpen our mind, and also it will help to give more output in our studies. Okay, so that's why it is relevant to our examination preparation, and you should implement that. So every day what you can do is just early morning before starting, let's say, your studies. Let's say suppose at morning 8 o'clock you are sitting on the table and starting your studies. So what you can do, just close your eyes for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, and start thinking that whatever you are going to do in let's say today's the timetable is there, or just try to imagine that. Okay, आप ऐसे इमेजिन करेंगे तो वो एक्चुअल इम्प्लीमेंट भी करने का आपको फोर्स मिलेगा. द सेम इज केस at the end of the day, before sleeping, just think about what you have done throughout the day, how whether it was productive, whether it was fruitful in your preparation, and at the same time the mistakes that you have done, and promising yourself that tomorrow you will not do the same mistakes. This is how we learn from our mistake. This is how we improve as a person also. ठीक है? Yes. So let's start with the lecture. These are the important articles from today's The Hindu newspaper. First of all, we'll take overview of these articles, try to understand the context, relevance to our examination syllabus, and then we'll discuss them in detail. Okay. Yes. So the international developments in our neighborhood that we are having follow-up, especially in Pakistan and Sri Lanka. In Sri Lanka, the economic crisis is happening. In Pakistan, the political crisis happened. Okay, and the government had to forcefully resign, and there will be new government formed by the new prime minister. But in Sri Lanka, the economic crisis worsened, and how that will impact India. The major impact will be the refugees that will come to India. ठीक है, नेबरिंग कंट्रीज होने का एक ये हम ड्रॉबैक बोल सकते हैं कि वहां से अगर कोई भी क्राइसिस पॉलिटिकल हो, रिलीजियस हो या फिर सिविल क्राइसिस हो, so the important concern here is that the refugee crisis may happen after that. Okay, so you can see that in recent times many such instances are happening. The people of Sri Lanka are coming on shore to India. So this is news. 19 more persons from Sri Lanka arrive in Tamil Nadu. Also, one should understand there are ethnic similarities on both sides of the ocean. ठीक है, तो ये भी एक कंसर्न हम बोल सकते हैं कि इंडिया हैज सम काइंड ऑफ लेट्स से सॉफ्ट नीड टू टेक सॉफ्ट स्टैंड स्पेशली रिगार्डिंग तमिलियन माइनॉरिटीज. Let's see what happens in future, what government takes stands here. Here on right hand side top, Modi bidden to hold virtual summit today. So before starting this 2+2 meeting in Washington, there will be virtual meeting of the two leaders, and the two leaders are going to discuss some important issues related to the strategic partnership they at present enjoy. ठीक है, तो उसके बारे में हम डिटेल में देखेंगे कि what is their agenda for this meeting. Okay, now moving on page number 3, you can see on bottom side, everyone should know that we are following the New Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper, and accordingly we are discussing these news. Okay, so sometimes what may happen is the states page, regional page, city page may be different. Okay, but these news are relevant to our examination. On third page, Bengaluru joins global network of Sill cities. Okay, global network of silk cities. Now, although from miscellaneous perspective, but it is important for our prelims examination. Like there can be question like which of the following city recently joined the global network of silk cities from India for the first time, or the first city to let's say to be part of this network. So such kind of question can be asked from current affairs perspective. ठीक है, तो ऐसे हम न्यूज कवर कर रहे हैं प्रीलिम्स के लिए, राइट? देन कम टू पेज नंबर 6, एडिटोरियल पेज. Lead article, India's role in disordered world. Very good article talking about the present status of world order and how India can play the role so as to, you know, play the dominant role, so as to play a, let's say, major power, to show as a major power in the world order. At the same time, one should understand the background here is Ukraine-Russia war that is going on and the other developments relevant to this whole. Okay, so yes, we will discuss this from IR section. Now on bottom side, very good article, getting serious about supporting the care economy. Now last year it was in news because when Tamil Nadu elections were going on, there one of the party, let's say party established or led by Kamal Hassan, so that party declared that they will provide the formal status to care economy in the state. Okay, so what constitutes a care economy at present, how India is having the policy measures, whether we are having certain kind of policy measures towards care economy. Along with that, we will try to also understand why it is important to invest in the care economy, the significance of that, and ultimately the way forward. Okay, so there can be a question in GS1 paper, society part, GS2 paper, social justice part, and GS3 paper, economy part. All of this is relevant to this part of our syllabus, and there can be essay topic also because this has been long debated topic. Okay, fine. Now, yes, text and context page, not that much relevant articles here. Okay, on page number 10, on bottom side, NSCN-K seeks united push for solution. Okay, so one should know that it is relevant to our GS3 paper mains examination internal security part, insurgency in Northeast India. Okay, so if we read the basics of insurgency, the background of insurgency, especially in Nagaland, so you know that demand of these insurgent groups for Greater Nagaland, especially the extremist group up till now, let's say NSCN Isak Mua, that faction which is considered as the lead faction of these insurgents. So they have framework agreement, they signed the framework agreement with Government of India in 2015. But the ISCN Khaplang, that is ISCN K, up till now, let's say they remained rebellious, they did not put down the weapons, and that was major part of concern here. Okay, now they are saying that there should be, let's say, united push for a solution for this Naga peace process. Okay, so yes, we are having this follow-up. Let's see what happens, the major development, then we will discuss it. On page number 11, Modi began to discuss bilateral ties at summit, and the other article, Ukraine crisis to headline India-US 2+2 meeting. Although today it is going to happen and tomorrow the outcome, there will be some news related to outcome of this meeting. And one should know that this 2+2 meeting is of foreign dignitaries of the foreign ministry and defense ministry. Okay, that's why the 2+2 meeting. Right, so we will try to find out what is the agenda for the External Affairs Ministry and Defense Ministry regarding this. Okay, on page number 12, Bengal coast faces most erosion. Okay, so there is one survey by organization, National Center for Coastal Research under Ministry of Earth Sciences. And according to this National Center for Coastal Research, different coastal states are facing different extent of coastal erosion. Now it is part of geography as well as environment section. Okay, coastal erosion, it is an environmental issue, and one should know that the causes and the consequences of this coastal erosion. Okay, yes, we will try to find out the extent here. The data is relevant to our mains examination, GS1 geography part, GS3 part, environment section. Also those having geography optional subject, for them also this data is relevant. The article also mentions about, let's say, coastal vulnerability index and let's say coastal vulnerability map that has been prepared by INQOIS. Okay, coastal vulnerability index. So, Indian National Center for Ocean Information Services. This INQOIS is also part of or attached office of Ministry of Earth Sciences. Okay, so that is relevant to our prelims examination. Fine. So these are the important articles. Let's go in detail of all these articles and discuss them accordingly. So first article, India's role in disorder world. Okay, the context here is that Ukraine-Russia conflict that is going on and how it is an opportunity for India to play the significant role to deal with the global disorder and bring back it to the rule-based order that we have been advocating. Okay, so the background here is mentioned in the first part. So, institutions of global governance have failed to unite the world. Now, we all know that the Second World War created huge, let's say, loss of human life and property, and thereafter all important countries came together and led to, let's say, formation of international organizations like United Nations, or let's say General Agreement of Trade on Trade and Tariff, World Bank, IMF were formed. And despite of formation of all this, they have failed to unite the world at present, which is visible from, let's say, failed talks on climate crisis. Every year the United Nations framework on framework convention on climate change, UNFCCC. So the COP of this UNFCCC every year happens, but yes, there is divide continuously on developed and developing countries, and that continues, and the, let's say, acceptable solution is not arrived. Same is the case with COVID-19, let's say vaccines. So hoarding of these vaccines and the patent rights issues, the world is divided over that also. Then the same is case with WTO. Even before we can say this COVID-19 pandemic, WTO faced a lot of problem, and we call it as, let's say, facing the institutional crisis, identity crisis. And why? The concern related to the developed and developing countries, again especially regarding agreement on agriculture and the amber box subsidies, the public procurement program of India. Yes, so peace clause, so final solution on that peace clause has not been achieved. Okay, and now at present the Ukraine war. So despite of several resolutions, the substantial action was not taken under UN. Why? Because the veto powers of Russia, many countries let's say voted in favor of Russia or abstained. So because of that also, the strong action was not able to, or strong or united action was not able to take by the world institutions. Yes, so this is the situation that we are facing. The undemocratic architecture of global governance. This is the reason that let's say the writer is saying behind lack of unified action. Why we are calling it as undemocratic architecture? For example, UN, if we are talking about UN. So UN, the major decisions of UN are taken by the UNSC, United Nations Security Council, which consists of 5 permanent members and 10 non-permanent members. Okay, these 5 permanent members, after let's say the World War II, the 5 permanent members were the major powers at that time, and they had the veto powers, while the other was not having any kind of veto powers. And because of that, what happened is these countries are vetoing different resolutions in UN and UNSC, and that's why the unified action was not able to take. At the same time, why we are saying that is undemocratic, because the third world countries are largely, let's say, African countries, Asian countries like India, or any, let's say, African countries not having representation in UNSC permanent membership. So such kind of undemocratic architecture of global governance is there, and that's why it is not able to have unified actions. You can give the example of UNSC. Now, inequalities have increased within the countries and amongst them, or let's say within the countries and among the countries also. So recently there was inequality kills report. Okay, and that inequality kills report by Oxfam. So that report has highlighted how this inequality has increased within the countries as well as among the countries. Some facts you should mention from that report when we talk about inequality in the world. Then, the free market capitalism is not ideologically compatible with genuine democracy. Now, the concern or the conflict here has been always that a free market capitalism, or let's say economy, so that is not ideologically compatible with genuine democracy. Why? You can give some arguments here. First thing is that capitalism works on profit, or it works on, we can say that, property rights. Okay, so for example, if we are talking about these Western countries, capitalist countries, so few years back, or let's say if you go back to the 20th century or 19th century, so who had the rights to vote in the country? So as a part of democratic processes or voting processes, election processes, those having the higher property, so they were able to vote, so they had the property rights. So this was the situation, and let's say till recent past they did not have the universal adult franchise. This was the situation. So one should know that this is, let's say, against or not compatible with genuine democracy, which seeks to have the universal adult franchise or one person vote, one vote system, right? So then the rules of governance of capitalist and democratic institutions have always been tension within the societies. Why? Because one should know that there is inherent inequality in the society due to different societal structures of the past. And because of that, what happens is this inequality tends to be manifested in the economic sphere also. And because of that, economic inequality goes on increasing. Okay, economic inequality goes on increasing. This is what we are talking here for the free market capitalism. Even in India, if we take the example, after 1990s reforms, we are shifting towards free market capitalism. And what we have observed in last 30 years of these reforms is increasing income inequality. Yes, there has been economic growth, but there is increasing income inequality, rich poor divide also. Okay, so this is not in line with democratic principles. Democratic principles, they are, let's say, the economic democracy is also part of democracy. And that's why this is always tension. Socio-economic inequalities leads to tension in the economy. Tension in any country, we can say. Okay, so this is, we can say, the trade-off between free market capitalism and democracy. But yes, to the extreme, we should not take it as complete trade-off. Rather, we can say that some of the elements of two philosophies, they are not working with each other. It is not the case that always the, let's say, democracy and socialism or communism is having some kind of, let's say, similarities or not having any tensions. That is also not the case. Okay, yes. So what is the way forward we should talk here? Redistribution of de facto power within the society must often precede redistribution of assets of wealth and education that are sources of power. That means redistribution of power will happen when there is already redistribution of, we can say, wealth and education, which are the sources of power. Why wealth is source of power? Because capital is source of power. How certain people or the capitalists in the capitalist economy were able to accumulate the wealth. Like you can take the example of UK. So how they invested, the rich capitalist class invested in India or third world countries, their colonies. We learn that in history, right? The same is case with, let's say, US also. And now some of these capitalist people or let's say those wealthy people are assuming more power. ठीक है, तो ये जो wealth redistribution पहले होना चाहिए. As the same case with the education, because education leads to empowerment. Education leads to more and more opportunities to grow, let's say earn the wealth. ठीक है, तो इसलिए हम बोल सकते हैं they are sources of power, right? So there should be redistribution of this first, and then automatically redistribution of power within the society will happen. Okay, so this argument you can write as a way forward. Let's say philosophically also you can discuss this in GS1 paper. There is syllabus topic capitalism, socialism, communism. These are the philosophies that we should learn. As a part of, we can say, different philosophies emerged in last 2 centuries. At the same time, see here the question. The same statement can be taken as question. Free market capitalism is not ideologically compatible with genuine democracy. Do you agree? Justify your view. Okay, so you should give the argument just now we discussed, and along with that some argument against also. Okay, some argument against also, because yes, we know that democracy is very important and it works for different types of economies. Capitalist as well as communist, or simply we can say that socialist type of economy. Okay, so there should be the kind of blend or balance should be there, and that's why we adopted such kind of, let's say, principle in DPSPs. Okay, democratic socialism that we adopted, and that is very essential part of any kind of welfare state. ठीक है, तो ऐसे आप way forward में बता सकते हैं. Okay, fine. Now moving on to next article, getting serious about supporting the care economy. Okay, so yes, it is relevant to our GS3 paper, economy part. Then along with that, GS2 paper, social justice part, GS1 paper, society part and women empowerment, and along with that, essay topic also, those who are having sociology optional subject. Okay, so we are talking about care economy. The immense contribution of women to all spheres of life is often overlooked, unfairly valued and hardly rewarded. We all know about this. And why we are talking largely about women? Because yes, care economy, majority of the, let's say, participation in that care economy is by the women. So what encompasses the care economy? Like for example, feeding a baby or nursing an ill partner, or indirect care activities such as cooking or cleaning, they are very much essential for working of overall economy. Okay, so that's why we are saying that it is overlooked, unfairly valued and hardly rewarded. Okay, so if we look at our own households also, so many times what happens is, if our, let's say, mother is let's say housewife and she is doing all the household chores, and she is not at all, let's say, that work is not recognized, that is not valued, or any kind of reward is specially mentioned. At the same time, if we are talking about the formal aspect of economy, that part of work is not calculated as the part of economy also. Okay? So one should know about that. At the same time, if we talk about the maids working in our households, so they are, or let's say helpers are also there, nurse are also there, so they are helping us, but they are not part of formal economy. They are still considered as part of unorganized informal sector. Okay, now what are the benefits of supporting the care economy? Yes, one should know the benefits also. First thing is that including them will be leading to women empowerment. Recognition of such kind of work is very important aspect of, let's say, women empowerment. So whenever we talk about social justice or women empowerment, or let's say when we talk about the labor force participation, increase in the rate of labor force participation, this is also very important contribution. Okay, so women empowerment will happen when the care economy is supported by rewarding them, recognizing that part of, let's say, economic work. Second thing, one should know that whatever the work they are doing, they act as a support system to formal sector. So be it domestic help or the housewives, so they are support system for the formal sector. Right, so their work needs to be recognized, and when it is recognized, automatically what will happen? There will be more and more economic growth. Third, when we are, let's say, supporting the care economy, that means there will be increase in the health indicators. Why we are saying that? Because there will be more investment in the health sector, because care economy is the significant part of care economy is, we can say that they are in health sector. Like for example, we know elderly population, the number of elderly population is going to increase year by year in India. At the same time, the let's say care for the newborn babies is also very important aspect. Also for those divyang people, differently abled people, for them also care is very important aspect. When we formalize that, so again we can say that right kind of care services with appropriate skills will be provided here, and there will be improvement in the health indicators. Fourth is labor force participation. So that will contribute to overall increase in economic growth. Okay, so it will contribute to GDP, because recognizing that will be part of, we can say, overall GDP calculations, and there will be increase in GDP growth also. Right, so all these aspects one should know the benefits of supporting the care economy. Then we can discuss the next part is maternity leave and child care. Now, issues, what are the challenges and issues faced for this care economy? Maternity leave. So this is good thing, maternity leave is given in India, but at present it is available only to the formal sector. How many weeks, especially after recent amendments to Maternity Benefit Act? formal sector 24 weeks. Okay, this is very progressive because if we talk about the ILO recognized world average of this giving the maternity leave is around 12 to 14 weeks only. Okay, so giving 24 weeks leave as a part of maternity leave, so that is a good thing, but that is only available to on formal sector, which is 10% of economy. So remaining 90% informal sector, they are not receiving the benefits. Women in the informal sector or unorganized sector, they are not receiving the benefits of this maternity leave. So this should be one of the area of reform, policy measure. Second is related to child care. In India, although we can say that child care is being promoted through establishment of creches, national creches scheme is there under, let's say, Ministry of Women and Child Care, but yes, that is again we can say that at nascent stage. Especially in informal sector, unorganized sector, such kind of facilities at the working environment are not there. Okay, so such kind of facilities should be made available so that the women start working at early time after, let's say, delivery. ठीक है, तो वहाँ पे अगर कृषि फैसिलिटी होंगे तो ब्रेस्ट फीडिंग फ्रॉम टाइम टू टाइम टू द चाइल्ड इज अवेलेबल, एट द सेम टाइम द न्यूट्रिशन ऑफ द चाइल्ड इज ensured because of this, and loss of wages are not there for the worker also. Okay, women worker. So this is very important area of policy measures is required, maternity leave and child care. Okay, so these issues should be addressed. Also the condition of domestic workers in India. So domestic workers, largely we can say women are part of domestic workers, and they are facing lot of issues. What are these issues domestic workers that are facing? First thing is that low pay, no social security benefits, inhuman treatment by the employers. Sometimes it results into sexual harassment also, violence, sexual harassment, and they are not having, let's say in the policy measures, and that's why there is no, let's say, organized associations of domestic helps having some kind of say in the policy measures for themselves also. So these are the issues they are facing. Okay, so what, let's say, measures can be taken to address these issues? So although at present, let's say, they are part of Sexual Harassment at Workplace 2013 Act. Okay, domestic workers are also part of this. One should know that. Minimum Wages Act is also applied to them. Okay, so these are good measures, but they require to have certain more social security benefits. Also, there should be awareness generation of their rights. They do not know their own rights, and that's why they mutely face such kind of violence or, let's say, inhuman treatment. Okay, तो ये awareness generation होना चाहिए, and organizing them on the cooperative basis in different associations, and these associations will have certain kind of say, representation in future policy making for them. ठीक है, तो ये हम इसमें मेजर्स में लिखेंगे. Also the ILO, International Labour Organization, which is also part of United Nations, let's say different organizations associated with the United Nations, and the only UN organization having tripartite representation, that is, we can say, government, employer, employee, that is workers. So this is good thing, and ILO has given or proposed this 5R framework. What is this 5R framework? You can directly write this in answer or essay. 5R framework. First, recognize the care economy, their work. Second, reduce, reduction, third redistribution. These three for redistribution of burden of unpaid care economy. Directly write this in your answer. Okay. This is going to be very effective answer, let's say major or way forward. Recognize reduction, redistribution of burden of unpaid care economy. ठीक है, तो घर में भी हो, समझो हाउस होल्ड है, सो अगर हाउस वाइफ है तो सारा काम वो नहीं करना चाहिए, तो बाकी लोगों ने भी वो डिवाइड होना चाहिए. वी शुड रिकॉग्नाइज दैट वर्क, वी शुड रिड्यूस, ट्राई टू रिड्यूस एंड रीडिस्ट्रीब्यूट दैट वर्क अमंग द अदर मेंबर्स ऑफ हाउस होल्ड. So if you start at household, then overall you can see the difference that may happen. And in addition to that, fourth, rewarding the care economy or those working in care economy. And lastly, we can say that increasing their representation in policy formulation. Representation. This is very important aspect. So those policies which are made for them, they should have some say in their formulation and implementation, right? So representation is also very important. So these are the 5 R's: recognize, reduction, redistribution, reward and representation, right? So what kind of question like we can try to attempt here? Care work should be viewed as collective responsibility and public good. In the light of this statement, discuss the challenges faced by the workers in the care economy in India and suggest measures to address them. Okay, so you can attempt this question now. Then, yes, Prime Minister Modi and US President Biden to discuss bilateral ties at summit. So before this 2+2 meeting between the foreign minister and defense minister of both countries, so there will be the heads of the government level meeting, virtual meeting here between India and US, and they will discuss the bilateral relations and cooperation in Indo-Pacific. This is what the statement given by our External Affairs Ministry and US White House. Okay, however, while the White House said President Biden would speak about the consequences of Russia's brutal war against Ukraine, our External Affairs Ministry did not refer directly to the discussions about this conflict. Okay, so we are having divergent views on this conflict, Ukraine-Russia conflict. So let's see what will be the discussion in this meeting and the outcome. Tomorrow we will discuss this. Now, Ukraine crisis to headline India-US 2+2 meeting. Okay, so what is the agenda of this discussion, of this meeting? Okay, two sides will discuss defense, science and technology, particularly emerging technologies, climate and public health, particularly cooperation in managing COVID-19 pandemic, fortifying and building supply chains, as well as people-to-people ties. This is what the areas. So simply, you know, हमारा जो आंसर होना चाहिए इंडिया यूएस रिलेशन का, इसी के अराउंड रिवॉल्व होना चाहिए. ठीक है, स्ट्रक्चराइजिंग जो होगा, कोऑपरेशन बिटवीन इंडिया यूएस under these headings. Also, defense relation is very important. So let's see. Several big ticket defense deals are in pipeline, especially for the Navy. Purchase of 30 Predator armed drones for 3 services is in advanced stages, but has been delayed pending approval from the Defense Acquisition Council in India. Another major deal is Navy tender for around 26 deck-based fighter aircraft for its existing INS Vikramaditya and indigenous aircraft carrier Vikrant, which is scheduled to be commissioned in the August 2022. Okay. Also, India has raised the issue of commodity price impacts of the war, including at United Nations. It has also purchased oil at the discounted rate or price from the Moscow, a move that has ruffled feathers with the Biden administration. Okay. So US administration has said it is willing to help provide alternative to India's sourcing of oil from Russia, which accounts for 1 to 2% of its energy imports. This is the situation. Let's see what happens in the discussion. Today the discussion will happen. Tomorrow there will be the outcome in newspaper and we will discuss that. Okay. Bengal coast faces most erosion. So this is the report or findings by National Center for Coastal Research, Chennai, an attached office to the Ministry of Earth Science. It is monitoring the shoreline erosion since 1990 using remote sensing data and GIS mapping techniques. Okay, so what is the outcome here? In terms of percentage, West Bengal, located on eastern coast of country with 535 kilometer long coastline, suffered erosion along about 60.5% of the coast over the period of from 1990 to 2018. The second is Kerala on the western coast, which faced 46.4% of its coastline the erosion. Right. So overall, if we are talking the overall erosion, the 6,907 kilometer long coastline of Indian mainland, about 34% is under varying degrees of erosion, while 26% is an accretional nature and remaining 40% is in stable state. So you can give this fact. Overall, 34% of, let's say, coastal areas or coast, Indian coast is under varying degrees of erosion according to this report. At the same time, another organization under Ministry of Earth Science, Indian National Center for Ocean Information Services, INCOIS, has prepared and published an atlas of Coastal Vulnerability Index. Okay, so Coastal Vulnerability Index maps for the entire coastline of India at this particular scale. Now, Coastal Vulnerability Index will provide the vulnerability of different coasts or different states. So, for natural disasters, for example, you can for various issues and natural disasters, like we can say tropical cyclones is there and cyclonic storms. Because of that also, then there is this particular issue of, we can say, coastal erosion, tsunami, sea level rise. Okay, so these are the issues or let's say vulnerabilities that we are facing, and then there are other aspects of let's say vulnerability also. So Coastal Vulnerability Index is by INCOIS. Remember this for prelims examination. Fine. Bengaluru joins global network of silk cities. So it became first Indian city to be inducted into global network of silk cities, and in future we can expect that Murshidabad in West Bengal may become the second such city to join this network. Okay, so yes, West Bengal, Assam, these cities or these let's say states, they are prominent in the silk production. Now the network has 9 countries and 13 cities together, including this Bengaluru now. Network helps artisans, craftsmen to exchange knowledge, build trade relations and understand various craftsmanship techniques. This is the significance of inclusion of Bengaluru into this network. Okay. Simple question on the basis of this information. Which of the following cities became the first Indian city to get into global network of silk cities? Okay, so we may get confused here because Murshidabad is the prominent silk production center. Okay, fabrics from the silk fiber we can say, and also Guwahati or Assam in general is prominent in silk production. Okay, so don't get confused here. Bengaluru is the answer. Okay, because recently it was inducted into global network of silk cities. Fine. Okay. So these are the important articles from today's The Hindu newspaper. Fine. Thank you.